you, we are in the fight of our lives. We may not be in uniform carrying muskets, but we are on a battlefield where the fight between good and evil and truth and lies unfolds. We shouldn't have to spend every day fighting for what has already been fought for over 200 years ago. But then again, Ronald Reagan reminded us that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Face it, at every turn, the leftist progressives with Joe and Kamala at the helm are fighting freedom-loving and liberty-loving Americans. They want to control every aspect of our lives, irrespective of the Constitution, right down to what we can say, how we can say it, whether we can say it at all, whether we can go to church or synagogue, or whether we can have a gun. So the choice in 72 hours is yours. Now, they laughed at the prospect of Donald Trump becoming president. They spied on him. They framed him. They impeached him for a legitimate phone call. When in truth, Joe Biden should be prosecuted for his role in Ukraine. Since when does a vice president withhold $1 billion American dollars unless the prosecutor investigating his son's company is fired? That's corruption, folks. And this guy says he's running on character? What character? How does a man who signs only the back of a government check for 47 years, whose wife is a teacher, able to afford multiple lavish homes around the country? The question for Joe Biden, who is running on character, is why Tony Bobulinski says he met Joe in a dark bar to discuss his son Hunter's business. Why did Hunter negotiate a $10 million annual fee for introductions with the Chinese with a 10% save for the big guy? Why would the Chinese give Hunter Biden, a troubled individual, a $5 million unsecured interest-free loan and a $100,000 spending spree? What was China buying? Why would the wife of the mayor of Moscow give Hunter $3.5 million? What was Russia buying? The answer, folks, is access and blackmail on a potential future president whose son is a playbook example of a compromised individual, to say the least. If the leftist socialists had their way with Joe Biden at the helm and Kamala Harris breathlessly waiting to take over, we would still be locked down in our basements waiting for a government subsidy to buy groceries and waiting for a green light to go outside. Can someone please tell me why the left is so determined to control us? But Mr. Cool in his sunglasses goes even further by limiting his rallies to cars in a parking lot. As he screams at the cars, they scream back by blowing their horns. And Biden actually had his own deplorable moment, calling Trump supporters chumps and ugly. Really, Joe? And as Joe Biden proposes the biggest tax increase, $6,500 estimated, for middle Americans, increased regulations, essentially shutting down the economy and factories, bringing in socialized medicine, defunding police, globalist trade deals, the elimination of oil and fracking, President Donald Trump has raised middle-class income by more than $6,000 in 3 years, and that doesn't even include the energy savings. But most important, President Trump has kept his promises to the American people, unlike the two-faced parasites in Washington who are in it for themselves. Donald Trump truly wanted to make America great again, and he did. In the beginning, he took on the media, and they said it was suicide, but he was right, and we saw it for ourselves. And he was right about big tech as we watch to control what we communicate to each other. That, my friends, is socialism and fascism. In 2016, Donald Trump talked about law and order. Little did we know how much the left despises law and order. Now, Joe Biden said nothing for 100 days as businesses and cities were burning and police and others killed. But Joe Biden, he wants to build back better. What is he going to build back better? If he had 47 years and never built anything other than jails to incarcerate a whole generation of young blacks he called predators. Joe Biden is a part of the gang that will not defend your religious freedom. He's not going to fight for your right to go to church, a house of worship, or synagogue. And on the other hand, as a Christian, Donald Trump took on those who made believers feel uncomfortable. He was the first president to actually move the embassy to Jerusalem. The first president to nominate a Supreme Court justice who actually admitted during confirmation that she was pro-life. All the talk of the presidents in the last 47 years since Roe versus Wade was decided, this president is the only one who actually walked the walk for Christians and evangelicals, which is why that community overwhelmingly, by more than 80%, supports President Donald Trump. This president is a man of his word. He has kept his promise to America, bringing us the greatest economy in the history of our nation. He has brought us freedom, prosperity, judicial restraint, security, and law and order. He believes in God and he believes in country. He believes in law and he believes in order. He believes in you and he believes in me. This election is a choice. You can spend the next 4 years in the dark, depressed with police defunded, with Beto O'Rourke coming for your guns, and Elizabeth Warren in charge of the Treasury, with Kamala Harris, the most left candidate in the Senate, who is pro-criminal and anti-police, paying more taxes, making less money, and that's assuming you even have a job or they even let you go to the job. Or you can vote for the man who has delivered on criminal justice reform, on opportunity zones, on police reform, on school choice, on building the wall, on destroying the ISIS caliphate, on bringing us the greatest economy America has ever seen, on bringing our troops home, on insisting on religious freedom again, speech that is free again, and protecting our Second Amendment right to bear arms. He is a true American who believes in God and country. Our last quarter's economic growth was the best ever recorded by more than double in history. A GDP of 33.1%. He said it would happen and it did. Donald Trump put together his own rainbow coalition of African Americans and Hispanics and Asians, people of all colors, with more jobs than the people to fill them. He has reawakened our American spirit. He has reignited the flame of liberty. He's a man whose philosophy is based not on politics, but on reason. He has prioritized law and order and the safety of American citizens. The first president to actually do something about the southern border. The first president who understands that we are born with certain natural rights that come not from the government, but from God, and that government wields power only with the consent of the governed, and that's us. So the choice is yours. A dark, dreary future with shutdowns, factories closing, jobs eliminated, economic depression, your free speech eliminated, your guns confiscated, and Big Brother interfering with your religious freedom and your life. But if you choose the man who has withstood what no other president has, who believes in truth, justice, and the American way, and if you want freedom, prosperity, peace, security, safety, a soaring economy, a strong military, the freedom to say what you want and do what you want, and the ability to defend yourself and your family,